Welcome to the Dove's Inner Beauty Podcast, where we foster emotional awareness one individual at a time. Leading the way is Demetria Nickens, a certified mental health first aid instructor and trauma recovery coach with over 2 decades of experience in fostering emotional awareness in others by engaging their mental health.
Are you ready to explore deep healing and personal transformation? Join us for an insightful interview with the owner of Dove's Inner Beauty as we discuss how to evaluate trauma and discover innovative ways to heal. So welcome back, everyone. Michelle Cantor, your co-host / producer, back in the studio with Demetria Nickens. Demetria, how are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you?
I'm great. So Demetria, how do you evaluate trauma and discover new ways of healing?
Ooh, such a weighted question, right? But I love it. I think one, like, evaluate trauma isn't for me to do, right? I don't consider myself what's called like a judge or jury or anything like that over your trauma, right?
Mm-hmm.
I cannot tell anyone what is traumatic for them any more than they could tell me what's traumatic for them.
Right.
You know what I mean? Or like what's traumatic for me, right? And so I don't look at it in that way of evaluating trauma, right? I want to more evaluate the present and how trauma has impacted that present, if that makes sense.
It does.
So I evaluate, the things that I evaluate are what's going on currently. So I evaluate your barriers, right? So I'm not really evaluating the trauma, right? I'm evaluating the barriers. I evaluate by being able to like listen to your story of what's stopping you from moving forward. I evaluate by being able to listen to what you feel like is holding you back, like why you feel like you came to me in the first place, right? This idea of, like, where do you feel like you're stuck when it comes to emotions, right? Where do you feel like you feel like you can't move forward because X, Y, and Z? And what happens is when you start to dig into some of that and you get answers to some of those questions, and you start to think about, well, what is your life story? Just tell me what your life story is, right? If you had to write your life story, what is that, right? When you start digging into things like that for people, what you find is a lot of trauma.
Yes.
There's a lot of trauma that's sitting in that life story. And what I like to do is to be able to help identify for people, hey, so this thing that happened right here, right? That right there is probably what's stopping you from doing X, Y, and Z that you're thinking. Can we dig into that? Right. And then connect the dots for people and how it's impacting them. So taking what they told me already, what they're willing to tell me, because I don't ask what they don't already give, because I never want to ever re-traumatize someone.
Right.
So it's about whatever you're willing to tell me is what I'm willing to work with. And then be able to say, hey, I can pull out from the things that they did and say, hey, this thing right there, let's look further into that, right? And I dig into those things. I like to call pulling the thread. I pull the thread on what is it called? What do I want to call it? I don't want to say issues, right? I don't like that word.
Yeah.
Pull the thread on their life story, right? The thing that they tell me is going on. And I just continue to pull that thread. And when you pull the thread, trauma comes out of it.
Yeah.
And that is a lot of how I do the work, is I ask hard questions from the things that they tell me. And then from those hard questions, they get aha moments, right? People get the beautiful aha moments about their life. And that's the part that I think is the most wonderful about it, is that when someone else gets the aha moment about their life and they're like, that's it? That's the thing, right? That is the secret sauce, right? The being able to help people find their aha moment, and being able to say, all right, so let's work through that, right? That's the thing we need to work through. And sometimes that's pulling in a therapist that needs to diagnose something very specific going on with them, because I don't diagnose, right? This isn't something that I do. I don't want to diagnose people. I never have, right? I think diagnosis help people, With trying, some people like a diagnosis. They just want to feel like they feel like that's an answer for them.
Right.
I'm not the person to come to for a diagnosis, right? I don't want to diagnose you. I'm the person to come to when you feel like you don't want a diagnosis, but you want to figure out what's wrong.
Yeah.
It is, right? I am the person that you should come to for that. When you feel like you don't want a diagnosis, but you need to figure out what's wrong, that's me, right? Because this is what I do. I help people pull the thread on those things that is stopping them, on the goals that they're trying to accomplish, on the issues that they can't quite figure out why, like they haven't put the pieces together. I feel like I'm that puzzle piece, like that connector of those puzzles. And so I help to, like, I'm able to look at the view from like 1,000-foot view, right? Sometimes from where they can't see it, and be like, oh, that's the shape it's making, right? Let me show you what the shape is, right? And then pull back and say, here's the shape, right? This is what it really is. It's not a square, it's a star, right? Or whatever, right? And help people figure that out. And so that's I like to say I'm the catalyst, right? Catalyst for change for people to help them thrive and live a better life.
Absolutely. And we love it, Demetria, and we really, really hope that you have a wonderful rest of your day, and we will see you in our next episode.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for tuning in to the Dove's Inner Beauty Podcast, where we foster emotional awareness, one individual at a time. For a complimentary consultation, visit dovesinnerbeauty.com or reach out to us via email at innerbeauty@dovesinnerbeauty.com.